So the biggest question I get when I talk to people in emergency medicine or anesthesiologists that are interested in a device, a more protective device, is what makes the AirQ so special? And my answer is this. The AirQ is really easy to put in, so your emergency people in the field, your paramedics, can easily establish the AirQ and ventilate the patient. The NG tube and the blocker devices are also very easy to put in, so you can add the protection of blocking off the esophagus and venting the upper esophagus as well, which you get with other airway devices. The difference is when you need to transition from your short-term airway device that you used in the field to a longer-term airway device, such as an endotracheal tube, you can do that quite easily by just removing the connector and intubating through the device. With other devices, such as laryngeal tubes, this transition is very difficult. It's very, very difficult to intubate a patient leaving the laryngeal type devices or other devices on the market in place. It's very difficult to do this. So you pretty much mostly have to remove those devices to put an endotracheal tube in. And when you do that transition of removing the airway and putting the endotracheal tube in, you lose your distal protection, and it's very common for patients to aspirate at some point during that transition. What the AirQ does is improve that transition from the field to the intubation in the emergency room. So when you use the AirQ to intubate, you can leave the distal protection in, easily intubate the patient without manipulating the neck by putting the endotracheal tube through the AirQ. And then once that's all done, then you can start removing the protection. So the transition becomes much easier and much smoother and much safer. So in conclusion, I think the AirQ blocker is important. It's specifically designed for emergency medicine in difficult patients because it's a very easy airway to put, very effective and easy ventilatory tool for short-term periods. Now, if you add on the guide tube and the functions of an NG tube through the guide tube and the blocker tube, it allows you to extend the protection to an obturated situation with the upper esophagus, venting the upper esophagus, so that you can minimize the potential for possible passive aspiration involved with a patient regurgitating. Now, the other important feature with AirQ is the intubation ability and using it as an intubation conduit. The combination of the easy use in the pre-hospital setting to the easy transition to an endotracheal tube in the hospital setting makes the whole experience from the beginning to the end a much smoother, much safer, and a much easier transition. AirQ will do this for you. It's extremely easy to do this. Anyone can learn this.